A deal to end the war with Iran's regime appears to be coming together. News of a potential one-page agreement. President Trump is now touting great progress in the push for peace. And the punch of positivity is already having a fast effect. Oil prices have fallen below $100 a barrel. Markets are soaring right now. My team may pop that up as I'm talking about it. But it's impressive how quickly that response was. And those oil prices will eventually hit gasoline on the market. I mean, all of this is positive. Let's see how long this holds. Iran is expected to respond within hours, so that deadline on them is tight. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. President Trump posted this on his Truth Social earlier this morning. Assuming Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to, which is, perhaps, a big assumption, the already legendary Epic Fury will be at an end, and the highly effective blockade will allow the Hormuz Strait to be open to all, including Iran. If they don't agree, the bombing starts. And the blockade will remain in full force and effect. Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time. Secretary of State Rubio with this on the military phase of the war. He said this late yesterday.
Their missile launching capability has been substantially degraded, and their industrial base, their defense industrial base, has been severely damaged. So their ability to build a shield behind which they could hide their nuclear program was wiped out. That's a very substantial achievement, and that was the purpose of this operation from day one.
Get their nuclear material in order for this war to end.
Well, that's one of the topics that needs to be discussed. I don't know about. I think you're linking it. The operation is over. Epic Fury, as the president notified Congress, we're done with that stage of it. Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace. What the president would prefer is a deal.
Retired four-star Air Force General Charles Wald will be with me in moments. First, let's go to Peter Doocy at the White House, where the news is moving very fast. Peter.
Very fast, Harris, and you were just talking about this. We've got the details of this 14-point plan, according to Axios. Under the banner, U.S. and Iran closing in on one-page memo to end the war. We've got these: a 5-year ban on nuclear enrichment, which would be less than the 20-year ban President Trump previously said he didn't like. There would be limits of 4% enrichment after that. There would be a ban on underground nuclear facilities, a vow to never seek a nuclear weapon, commitment to enhanced nuclear inspections, and an end to restrictions on travel through the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump, though, is telling the New York Post it's too soon right now to schedule a new round of in-person talks with Iran. So this is a very high-stakes game of telephone, still led by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
I'm not sure it's going to be one, but if there's a real diplomatic path and we continue to explore it, Steve and Jared are working on that very hard. If there is one there, it could be one that leads them to reconstruction, to prosperity, and to stability, and to not posing a threat to the world. The alternative is growing isolation, economic collapse, and ultimately total defeat.
We don't know how many Iranian leaders who ordered protesters a couple months ago murdered are still there, but a separate piece of this puzzle is avoiding future slaughter of protesters by arming them.
Do you plan to arm them soon?
Well, I don't want to say that, but yeah, people say, why aren't they protesting? They want to protest, but they don't have any guns. So you could have 200,000 people protesting and have 5 or 6 sick people with guns, and when they start shooting them right between the eyes.
And Reuters is reporting in a bulletin that just crossed that the Israelis did not know folks here at the White House were so close to a deal, if that is in fact where we are, so close to a deal. So the Israelis had been preparing to ramp fighting up with Iran until this morning. Harris.
Yeah, I'm looking at that Reuters right now. That seems very significant that they didn't know, because in the beginning it was the Roaring Lion operation and Epic Fury. Epic Fury now, State Secretary Rubio told us, is over. Your last quick one.
Yes, remember, Netanyahu and Trump were here at the beginning. Everything was happening together. So it seems like at the end, they are not necessarily coordinating as closely.
Peter Doocy, getting us started. I appreciate you. Thank you. In focus now, retired 4-star Air Force General Charles Wald former Deputy Commander of U.S. European Command. Sir, great to have you. I want to start with that bit of news, with Israel and the United States maybe not being yoked as they were at the beginning of the war. Your reaction?
I'd be pretty surprised if the Israelis and the United States aren't in pretty much lockstep. I mean, you hear things in public, but there's a lot of discussion going on. Our main issue in the Middle East, frankly, besides the fact that Iran is so provocative, is the security of Israel and our GCC friends. And I think we need to stick with that. We won't, I don't think we'll waver from that, and that'll be the end state.
Look, it feels like, and we'll set just aside what happened today for a second. When Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that Operation Epic Fury yesterday was over, we could get a sense, and that's why you saw reporters really leaning in with questions on that, that perhaps something was on the horizon, and now word of a one-page deal. I want to get your direct thoughts on the strategy that has gotten us here in the last 24 hours.
Well, I think from my perspective, there's two things. One is the security of our friends, Israel, I mentioned, and the GCC countries in the Middle East. That's paramount. And then number two is for the Iranians not to have a nuclear capability. They're associated, but they're somewhat separate. And I think both of those are objectives of the United States. I mean, we will never I thought Secretary Rubio did a super job yesterday, as a matter of fact. And I think he explained it very well. And names, Epic Fury, Project Freedom, you name it, those are interesting names. But the end state for us is a secure Middle East that isn't threatened by Iran.
Do you think we can move the ball on Iran with the nuclear capability that they have? Not a lot of it above 60% enriched uranium, but they're moving toward that weapons grade, as we've known all along.
Well, I kind of look at it as two kind of the associated phases. One is the diplomatic side, which we've heard a lot about, and number two is the reality. And I think for the United States, anything that Iran does to have a nuclear capability in the future has to be addressed and will continue to be addressed every day, regardless of what you call the agreement. So, number one, I think the IRGC is back on its heels. I think that it's going to take some time, but I think the number one issue there was that they fail. And number two is that we secure Israel and the GCC countries as our allies.
All right, I want to get to this. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also talked about gas prices. That's where Americans' heads are. If you talk with any of these voters in primary season, let's watch.
We don't benefit from the Straits as much as other countries. I don't know if you've seen what the gas prices are like in other parts of the world that are really suffering big time. So we're very fortunate that the United States, I believe right now, is like the world's largest net exporter of oil and natural gas as a result, not because of this war, but because we have this capacity. So we've been insulated to some degree. Everybody needs to think about it this way. If Iran had a nuclear weapon and they decided to close the Straits and make our gas prices like $9 a gallon or $8 a gallon, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they have a nuclear weapon. And a nuclear-armed Iran could do whatever the hell they want.
How is today different? I don't think today is any different. I think there's a lot of rhetoric on TV and in the diplomatic discussions. I think the end state for us, again, is that Iran doesn't have a capability to threaten anybody in the world with a nuclear weapon. And number two, that we secure Israel along with them and our GCC counterparts. And there's a lot of rhetoric you hear on the news and such. I thought that, like I said, I thought the Secretary did a great job. But the end state, as far as I'm concerned, is a Middle East where Iran can't threaten its neighbors and doesn't have a nuclear weapon, period.
Last quick question. Do you think we will own Iran then? I mean, you're talking about potentially helping people on the ground. What does that look like?
I think we help the people. First of all, I'm not a big fan of invading Iran necessarily, although I think on the coastline we could do some things that would secure the Straits of Hormuz. We do not want to own Iran. The people of Iran need to own Iran. We need to have set the stage where the people of Iran can have a government that doesn't threaten the rest of the Middle East, and that's our objective. We don't want to own Iran.
General Wald, always great to see you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Harris.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.